at the top of a pole, which is mounted on a block A of mass m. The block A and the ball have both an initial velocity u in the direction shown. Okay, the block A strikes another block B, stationary block B of mass m2. Right? Now, block A's mass is given to be m1, and the small ball's mass is given to be small m. Okay, and after the collision, the block A sticks to the block. Okay. Now we have to find the minimum velocity u, right, of A and the system of block A and small ball. Minimum initial velocity u we have to find, so that the ball can go in a complete vertical circle. Okay. It can be assumed that the block A is much heavier when compared to the ball.
M1 plus M2 by M2 into root 5 GL.
M1 plus M2 by root 2.
By M2.
By M2. Okay. M1 plus M2 by M2 into root 2 GL, root 5 GL.
Root 5 GL, yes.
M into root 5 GL into M1 plus M2 by M1 M2.
M into root 5 GL into M1 plus M2 by M1.
M1 M2.
M1 M2.
Yes.
Sir, what is the answer, sir?
Yeah, what is?
The answer,
What you're getting?
m1 plus m2 into root 5gl by m2.
M1 plus M2 into root 5gl by M2.
Yes.
Okay, so in the given setup, like we have one block A and block B, and on from A we have particle of mass small m, and both are given velocities u. This whole system is having initial velocity u. That is what is given in the question. Okay, so they move along this straight line and they collide. A collides with B, and after the collision, A and B stick to each other, and they continue to move on the horizontal frictionless surface. Okay, now let's consider that just after collision, we can say that both A and B together will have a velocity Vf. They move together with a common velocity Vf. Okay, and we can use momentum conservation for system of A and B here. Okay, so initial momentum of A we can equate to total momentum of A plus B combined after the collision. Okay, so here we can just say m1 into u should be equal to m1 plus m2 into E. So Vf will be m1 q by m1 plus. Okay, you must have noted here that while using momentum conservation, I did not take into account this small ball of mass m. Why? Because like the small ball of mass m is attached by a string to this top of the pole. It is attached to this pole by means of a string of inextensible string of length L, and since the string is initially in vertical position only, so there will not be any impulse developed in the string. Okay, because impulse will develop along the string, but perpendicular to string it will not develop any force as such. Right? So therefore, this A will experience the force only due to B. So there will be mutual impulse between A and B when the impact takes place. Okay, so we are only considering A and B as a system here, therefore, and we are considering that momentum is exchanged between both of them. Okay, so once we get the final momentum of A and B combined, or final velocity of A and B combined, okay, what we can say is that during this impact, since there is no impulse developed in the string during the impact, so velocity of the small ball m is not going to change due to the collision. It will still remain u only. So just after collision, you can say that this ball of mass m will have a velocity u. Its velocity is not going to abruptly change. Okay, so now you can find what would be velocity of like this situation. What would be velocity of this ball relative to this system? Okay, velocity of ball relative to AB system. Okay, that should be nothing but because velocity of ball is u, so it should be u minus vf, or it should be u minus m1 u by m1 plus. Okay, so this v relative will be same as u into m2 by m1. Okay, so relative velocity of the ball with respect to AB system, we can consider this, right? Because whatever velocity AB moves, because AB system moves with the velocity of BF. So which means that even the point from which the string is, the ball is suspended, the point on the pole from which the ball is suspended, that point also moves along with AB with the velocity of BF. So we can say that in the reference frame fixed to this point, in the reference frame fixed to this particular point, this particle moves in a circular path. Okay, it is going to move in a vertical circular path with respect to this point on the top of the pole, from which the string and ball system is suspended. Okay, but we know that after the collision, this AB combined system will move with a constant velocity, and even this point, the point of suspension, will also move with a constant velocity. So it can therefore be considered any reference frame fixed with respect to this point can be considered to be an inertial reference frame. Okay, so therefore, like in inertial reference frame, like we know very well that if you have a string and particle system, and if the particle has to be given some velocity to complete a vertical circle, it has to be given initial velocity at the lowest position, a minimum of root 5 here. So for completing vertical circle, the condition should be this v relative should be greater than or equal to root. V relative means it's the velocity of the ball relative to the point of suspension. That should be root 5 GL at the lowest position. Okay, that means whatever we got here, u into m2 by m1 plus m2 should be greater than root 5. U into m2 by m1 should be greater than or equal to root 5. Or this means u should be greater than or equal to m1 plus m2 by m2 into root 5. Okay, so we get the condition that u should be greater than or equal to m1 plus m2 by m2 into root 5. So that's a minimum velocity. We want to find what is the minimum value of u, so that like the particle will be able to complete a vertical circle during their subsequent motion. Right? Is it clear?
So what would change if mass m is not very small in comparison to the block?
Right. Actually, like if mass in comparison to this block, if it's not very small, also it will not make a difference as such in this case. Okay. Because like here, as such, the collision between the two bodies during the collision, since the string is like inextensible and it is not having an inertia, so it would not transfer any momentum or it will not transfer any impulse to the ball during the collision. Okay. So that's
Yes.
something we are able to use.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a question here where it's given that there is a spaceship of mass capital M, which is moving in free space with a velocity u. Okay, and it enters a cloud of uniform density rho. Okay, that spaceship enters a certain cloud which has got a density, mass density of rho. Okay, the particles in the cloud, like they strike the front face of the spaceship and they stick to it. Okay, so as the spaceship moves, the particles strike to the front face and they stick to it. Okay, and they get attached to the spaceship. Okay, the spaceship can be considered to be like a cylinder. So S. Okay, and it's given that the spaceship has to travel a distance L, like to cross the cloud. Okay, to go past the cloud, it has to travel a distance L. Okay, so we have to find how long will the spaceship take to cross the cloud. Okay, it can be assumed that during the time the spaceship travels through the cloud, the engine of the spaceship remains switched off. Okay, and at the time when the spaceship has just entered the cloud, it can be considered that its velocity was u, because as it's given in the question, it enters the cloud with the speed u.
Sir, sir, is the answer L by U plus rho L square rho L square A by 2 mu?
L by u plus rho L square A by 2 mu.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So like I'm assuming that the particles in the cloud are like uniformly distributed. So we can consider like when it travels the distance x, number like the particles mass which is attached to it will be rho a x.
Okay.
And so then if you use momentum conservation, its speed at any x is equal to mu by m plus rho x.
Okay.
And that we can equate to dx by dt. And just find time.
Okay. Okay, so in the given question, we have a cylindrical shaped spaceship, suppose it is like this, with the surface area is S. It enters some cloud, something like this, and it has to cross the cloud going through this. So it has to travel a total distance of L. Okay, in order to cross the cloud. So as it moves through the cloud at any position, if you consider, let us say it has moved a distance x. Okay, by the time it has moved a distance x, it will have some velocity v, and its initial velocity was u. Okay, so particles which are there in front of it, they will strike this cylinder, and they will stick to the face of the cylinder. So as the face of the cylinder moves, the particles will strike the face of the cylinder, and they'll get stuck to the face of the cylinder. And so the mass of the cylinder will keep on increasing. Okay, because all the particles which are striking and getting sticking onto the face of the cylinder, they add to the mass of the cylinder. So the mass of cylinder will keep on increasing. So although its initial mass is capital M, it will increase. So we can say that if I consider all the particles of the cloud which are present in this region, all the particles of the cloud which are present in this region, they will get added to the cylinder, because they will strike the face of the cylinder, and they will add their masses will get added up onto the cylinder. This entire section of the cloud will get added up onto the cylinder by the time the cylinder reaches. So we can say that if the system, if you are going to consider your system as cylinder plus this entire this whole lot of particles on the cloud, if that is considered as your system, then initial momentum can be considered to be just m into u. M into u is the initial momentum, because all these particles can be assumed to be at rest. The particles of the cloud may be assumed to be at rest, and so initial momentum is m into u. Final momentum can be considered to be momentum of the cloud plus those particles which have become a part of the cylinder, which have got stuck to the cylinder, and they remain along with the cylinder. So we'll take the total mass to be m plus mass of particles of the cloud which have stuck to the cloud. Okay, so those particles mass we can consider as it is mass of this region of the cloud. This region of the cloud's mass will be density into volume of this region, which will be rho into area we can take as s, and distance x we can rho s into x. That should be mass of the cylinder. This is the new mass of the cylinder after the particles have stuck to the cylinder. By the time the cylinder has moved a distance x. This into velocity v. I'll take the velocity of the whole system. So if I equate both of these, I will get mu equal to m plus rho s x into v, or v will come out to be equal to mu by m plus rho s x. Okay, so this is velocity of the cylinder at any general time. So as x increases, v will decrease. That is, velocity of cylinder will decrease. So velocity we can also take as dx by dt. Velocity is the rate at which x is increasing, that is dx by dt. Okay, so now you can separate x terms and t terms, and then we can integrate, because we want to find how x varies with time. Okay, because we want to know after how much time it will be able to cross the cloud, and that is, we want to find the time when x becomes equal to L, because it has to travel a distance. Okay, so dx into it's going to be m plus rho s x into dx. That should be equal to mu into mu, and integration of this. Okay, so integration we can do from 0 to t, and we can do this from 0 to L, because we want to find the time when the spaceship is able to cross the cloud. Okay, so this is going to be m into x plus rho s x square by 2. Okay, from 0 to L, that should be equal to mu into t. Okay, so we get t will be equal to 1 by mu, 1 by mu into substituting limits in this, we'll get m into L plus rho s into L square by 2. Okay, so it comes out to be equal to L by u plus the second term will be rho. It will be again, it will be L by u, we can take common, it is 1 plus L by U into 1 plus rho SL. 1 2 n rho SL by 2. So that's what we get. T equal to L by U into 1 plus rho SL by 2. This is the time taken by the spaceship to cross the cloud. Because the spaceship will be experiencing retardation or its velocity will be decreasing till the front face of the spaceship reaches here. Once it crosses this point, thereafter there is no cloud beyond that. So there are no particles which are striking the face of the cylinder anymore. Right? Is it clear?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, why didn't we consider the gravitational attraction between the cloud and the spaceship, sir, in this case?
Gravitational attraction between the cloud and the spaceship.
Yes.
We have neglected that basically here, gravitational attraction, because to know gravitational attraction between cloud and spaceship, we should know how the distribution of cloud also. We should know up to what region the cloud has been spread and all that. So all that information is not, it's basically an irregular cloud. We don't know what kind of cloud it is and what its shape is. So it's not possible for us to think of what could be the gravitational field that the spaceship could have been experiencing. So we have basically not considered that into account.
Okay, sir.
Okay, because if all those things are given, all those details are given, then you can probably try to see how the field varies, okay, or how the gravitational force would vary on the spaceship as it moves through the cloud.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the next question, I'm not actually sharing the question on the screen here, but instead I'm just showing it on the board here. That is a hemisphere based on a frictionless surface. Okay, a hemisphere of radius r. Okay, and mass of the hemisphere is m. Okay, it is placed inverted on a frictionless surface, frictionless horizontal surface. Okay, on top of the hemisphere there is a small block, which is also having same mass. Block is also having a mass small m. Okay, so the block is just resting on top of the hemisphere, and it is given a slight push. I mean, slightly it is disturbed, and so it therefore starts sliding like this. It starts sliding down the hemisphere. Okay, and of course the hemisphere is also free to move here because it is placed on a frictionless surface. Okay, right. So we have to find angular position of particle on this hemisphere. Okay, as measured from vertical. As measured from vertical. When it is about to lose contact. About to lose contact with hemisphere. Okay, that is, we have to find this angular position. Angular position with the vertical. Okay, that the particle will have when it is about to lose contact with the hemisphere. both hemisphere and the small particle, they have same masses. They have equal masses.
Sir,
Yes.
so can you do it in this way? Sir? Like we can conserve momentum in the horizontal direction, sir,
Okay.
and use work energy theorem.
Okay.
And for it to lose contact, we have to take normal force at that point must be equal to 0.
Yes.
Means that mv square by L must be equal to mg cos theta at that point.
Like, are you writing force equations for the particle in which reference frame?
Ground
In ground
reference.
reference frame, motion is not circular. Motion will be circular in the hemisphere reference frame.
Sir, cos theta
Yes.
equal to √3 minus 1.
root 3 minus 1.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I considered m and small m have u velocities in opposite directions, sir, in along horizontal,
Okay.
and along vertical, m should have small m should have velocity 2u tan theta.
2u tan theta.
Yes, sir. Because in reference frame of hemisphere, it should be its velocity should be tangential to the surface.
Yes, yes.
So its vertical component should be 2u tan theta.
Okay.
And normal force should be 0.
Normal force should be 0. Yeah.
Yes, sir. If we use these conditions, we'll get some cubic equations, sir.
Okay.
2 of the roots are not possible also, so only one root.
Okay. Only one is possible.
Yes.
Sir, if there's no normal force, then ground reference frame and hemisphere reference frame will be same, na, sir.
If there is no normal force, yes. At the time when normal force is 0, that time you can say that acceleration of hemisphere should be 0. And then ground reference frame or non-axial reference frame should be same.
So it
Only
is
for-
in circular motion with respect in ground frame also, no, sir, when it's
Yes.
about to lose contact.
Yeah. Yes. So mg cos theta should be equal to mv square by r, but it will not be mv square by r. It should be mv relative square by r.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So v is different and v relative is different here. V means it is velocity of this mass with respect to ground. V relative means velocity with respect to hemisphere. Velocity with respect to hemisphere and respect to ground are not going to be same. Okay. So if you are equating, you should equate mg cos theta to mv relative square to get that condition. Okay, so like what we can consider here is that at some general instant of time, if suppose this has an acceleration a, and this has an acceleration a this way, and normal force on the particle axis this way, normal force this way on the hemisphere. Okay, I'm talking about a general situation where the contact has not been lost, where there is some normal contact force, then it would be acting this way. Okay. And this mass will have some velocity relative to the hemisphere, something like v. Okay, so here we can consider the v relative. If I take this rightward as positive and this upward as like positive y-axis, so I can resolve v relative into x and y components. Okay, so v relative we can write it is v relative into this is going to be cos theta I and minus sin theta. Components of v relative in x and y directions. In horizontal component, you'll get cos theta, and vertical component will be like sin theta. Okay, and this mass, like suppose has a velocity v. Okay, suppose velocity of this mass is v. Okay, the hemisphere is v. Okay, so then we can say that v would be directed this way. Okay, because like as this moves down, this is going to move towards. So one can say that m into velocity of small mass with respect to ground plus m into velocity of this hemisphere, that is should be equal to 0 in horizontal direction, that is in x direction. In x directions, we can use momentum conservation. Okay, so this is going to give you m into velocity of small mass with respect to ground will be velocity of small mass with respect to the hemisphere, which is v relative cos theta, plus velocity of hemisphere. But velocity of hemisphere can take us minus v. Okay, as we are considering v in this case. Okay, plus the small m into minus v equal to 0. Okay, because like right word has been taken as positive. So since it is having a velocity v directed towards that, so I'm taking it as minus. Okay, so this gives you a relation v relative cos theta is equal to 2. We get a relation between v relative cos v relative and velocity of the hemisphere. Okay. Next, we can also use energy conservation. Okay, by the time the mass moves to this position, we can say like work done by gravity. That is, work done by gravity will be mg r into 1 minus cos theta. That should be equal to change in kinetic energy of whole system. Change in kinetic energy of whole system should be half m into vx square plus vy square plus half m into v square. So half m into vx square and vy square. Here vx and vy are velocities of the small particle in x and y directions with respect to ground. I'm taking velocity of this particle in x direction with respect to ground and y direction also with respect to ground. And this is velocity of hemisphere. Okay, so we know what is vx already. Like vx here is velocity which is v relative cos theta minus v. Okay, in fact we can write this entirely in terms of v relative only. So since you already got like here v equal to v relative cos theta by 2. V equal to v relative cos theta by 2. So we can use in place of v, we can take v relative cos theta like by 2. So this is going to be half m into in place of vx, since we have vx as v relative cos theta minus v. So this is v relative cos theta minus v relative cos theta by 2. So it is v relative cos theta by 2 whole square plus vy square. And in place of vy, we can take v relative sin theta. Okay, because vy velocity of particle in y direction will just be v relative sin. This plus half m v square. And v also we can write as v relative cos theta by 2 whole square. Okay, v relative cos theta by 2. Okay, so this gives you a relation entirely in terms of v relative. You can find relative velocity of the with respect to hemisphere at any junction. Okay, so this gives you mgr into 1 minus cos theta. That will be equal to. So here we have half m into half m into. Then we have v relative square cos square theta. V relative square cos square theta by 4. Okay, and then v relative square sin square theta. And then plus we have v relative square cos square theta by 4. Okay, so we get half m into v relative cos theta by 2 whole square and v relative sin theta whole square. And here also we have v relative cos theta by 2 whole square. Okay, so this gives you v relative cos square theta by 2 and v relative. So this is also same as half m into V relative square, okay, into cos square theta by 2 plus sin square. Okay, this is what you get. So if you cancel off terms, you get V relative square equal to 2gr into 1 minus cos theta by 2gr into 1 minus cos theta divided by sin square theta plus cos square theta by 2. Cos square theta. So this is expression we got for V relative square. Okay, for any general theta. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll write force equations for this mass. The force equations for this mass, like normal force is a force acting on a particle. So for the particle, if you write the force equation, you should get okay. So normal force is one force, and mg cos theta is acting like this. Okay, and you should take pseudo force also, like here. But the thing is, when normal contact force is about to be lost, or when contact is about to be lost, then acceleration also will become zero for this case. Because if you are going to take the instant where normal contact force is going to become zero, at that time acceleration of the hemisphere also is going to become zero. Because hemisphere will accelerate mainly because of horizontal component of normal force. The horizontal component of normal force will become zero, therefore acceleration of hemisphere also should become zero. So the pseudo force also will be zero if you're writing a force equation just at the instant where normal force is zero. So normal force and pseudo force both have vanished. Okay. So when contact is lost, is just lost, we can just say that mg cos theta can be considered to be equal to m into v relative square. Right? Okay. So mg cos theta can equal to m into v relative square there, or we will just get v relative square is equal to gr. So this v relative square and this v relative square can be equated. Okay. So we can equate the two v relative squares. Okay. So that you will get gr cos theta. That should be equal to 2gr into 1 minus cos theta by sin square theta plus cos square theta. Okay, so this is the equation we get. So we get an equation in cos theta and sin theta involving cos theta and sin theta terms here. Okay, so that. Okay, so this comes out to be equal to cos theta into sin square theta plus cos square theta by 2. That is equal to 2 into 1 minus cos. Okay, 2 into 1 minus cos theta. So we get cos theta into, if we simplify this, we can write it as 1 minus cos square theta by 2. Because it will be 1 minus cos square theta plus cos square theta by 2. That will be 1 minus cos square theta by 2 is equal to, or this is equal to 2 into 1 minus cos theta. So it's going to be cos theta into 2 minus cos square theta is equal to 4 minus 4 cos. Okay, the equation comes out with this. So this can be written as cos cube theta, and then you will have minus 6 cos theta plus 4 equal to 6. So we get an equation in cos theta, that is cos cube theta minus 6 cos theta minus plus 4. So we can solve this equation to find value of cos. But unfortunately, it's a cubic equation.
So 2 is the root for that, so we can do it.
2 is a root. Like, can we say that 2 is a root here?
Yes, sir.
I think when you look at the equation, it looks like 2 is a root, right? Because it satisfies the equation. So I think it's good because, like, by looking at it, if you are able to see that cos theta is equal to 2 is one of the solutions. Of course, cos theta cannot be equal to 2. So then we can find the other two. Because if you are able to say for sure that cos theta equal to 2 is one of the roots, we can find other two roots also. So then we will be able to write it as, you can just consider it as cos theta minus 2, because cos theta equal to 2 is one of the roots, so you can write it as cos theta minus 2 into some quadratic expression in cos theta should be equal to 0. Now that quadratic expression in cos theta will be cos square theta. Get cos square theta. And then we should
2
be
cos
getting
theta
minus 2 cos theta.
plus will come.
Yeah.
Plus 2 cos theta will come.
Okay, plus 2 cos.
Yes.
Plus 2 cos theta. And
Minus
then
2.
minus 2. So this is the other quadratic expression we are getting. So roots of this quadratic equation also we should find, because you will get two other roots for this quadratic equation. So I think for this we will get minus 2 plus minus root over 4 plus 8. So one of the root will come out to be equal to root 3 minus 1. And the other root will come out to be equal to minus root 3 minus
Minus.
cos theta equal to root 3 minus 1 and cos theta equal to minus root 3 minus 1. So these two roots.
Two roots are, yes.
Yeah, out of these three roots we are getting for this cubic equation, cos theta equal to 2 is not possible. And this cos theta equal to minus root 3 minus 1 is also not possible, because that is like more than minus, less than minus 1. So only root 3 minus 1 is possible. Right? So we can say that cos theta equal to root 3 minus 1 will be the angle at which the block will lose contact with the hemisphere. Only thing is like in this, like we are able to solve like using the concepts, like basic concepts. If you go about, you are finally getting an equation in cos theta, trigonometric parameter like cos theta, which on solving you can find the value of theta. But the problem here is you're getting a cubic equation. Okay, and like in this case, however, like we are able to see that by looking at it, we are able to see that value of cos theta 2 is satisfying. But otherwise, it may be a problem. Is it? Okay, right. So we'll like end the session here for today. We'll continue in the next session.